I am the good-for-nothing heiress of a wealthy family. Good news, I'm the real heiress. Bad news, someone is impersonating me. At the family banquet, the fake heiress ran up to me dripping wet, playing the victim. Sister, why did you pour red wine on me? I looked around, picked up the nearby 1.25L large bottle of soda, my gaze clear and innocent. Are you talking about me? But I'm drinking cola, you know. I'm Sarah Lincoln, the third daughter of the Lincoln family group, my eldest sister. Lucy Lincoln is an award-winning director whose accolades are too numerous to count, renowned internationally. My second brother, Lucas Lincoln, is the current second-in-command of the Lincoln family group, with a bright future ahead. As for me, I'm a clueless good-for-nothing. Maybe when my parents conceived me, their genes took a sharp turn. Apart from my looks, I didn't inherit any outstanding talents or skills. Not only that, but I've also been a bit slower to react than others since childhood. As my sister puts it, I'm like a Samoyed that wandered into a pack of wolves, getting bullied but still wagging my tail foolishly and calling them big doggies. Logically speaking, someone at the bottom of the food chain like me would usually be the first to be discarded as cannon fodder in these wealthy family power struggles. But my mom says, so what if she's slow? Can't four smart people carry one fool? But my mom was really wrong, since I couldn't follow the elite path of the wealthy. She dedicated herself to spending money to make me a carefree playboy, while others were into extreme racing. I couldn't even pass my driver's test. When it came to drinking and partying, I had alcohol allergies. Flirting around and keeping a toy boy, the most I dared to do was hold hands. Over time, my mother consoled herself. It's good to be dumb. Dumb people don't attract attention. It's beneath their dignity. Yet even living like this, I still caught someone's eye. Lucas Lincoln brought back a frail girl who bore a striking resemblance to me, about 70% alike. The moment she saw my mother, she fell to her knees in tears, wailing pitifully, "Mom, I've finally found you." My dad immediately lost his appetite for the chicken leg in his bowl, put down his chopsticks, and widened his eyes in shock. "What's going on? Are you seeing someone else?" My mother was shocked. "I don't know. I didn't do anything." The girl crawled forward on her knees and kowtowed twice to my father. "Dad, I miss you so much." My mother suddenly changed from her panicked demeanor, planting her hands on her hips and pointing at my father's nose. "You're asking me, is this your illegitimate child?" The kneeling girl sobbed and wiped her tears, while my parents were still engrossed in their game of blaming each other, not a single one paying her any attention. "Dad, Mom, she said she's the real Sarah Lincoln." In the end, it was Lucas Lincoln who clarified the key point. "What do you mean? How is that possible? I've seen the paternity test report. It's real. What about the little sister?" My mom pointed at me, who was busy stuffing my face with food. "Of course the little sister is your biological daughter, my own sister." Lucas Lincoln's words held not a trace of hesitation. He stood coldly to the side, with no intention of helping the so-called real sister. The girl suddenly raised her head and glared at me fiercely. "She's a fake. If you don't believe me, Mom and Dad, take her for a DNA test. She's not blood-related to you." Her confident demeanor made Lucas Lincoln frown. Her parents remained silent after hearing her accusations, so Lucas Lincoln had no choice but to continue asking. "So I brought her back to ask you, is she some long-lost illegitimate child of yours?" Her parents shook their heads vigorously, like rattles, after a long pause. My mother smacked me on the head. "I got it." I covered my forehead and spat out the last bone. Thanks to this commotion diverting their attention, all the chicken legs today ended up in my stomach, except for the half left in my dad's bowl. My mother's eyes lit up with excitement. "So I had twins back then." All eyes turned toward my mother. The girl was the first to object. "How is this possible? There's only me. I'm your only daughter. Mom can just take her for a paternity test and you'll know." Before she could finish speaking, my mother interrupted her. My mother took her hand and led her to sit on the sofa, embracing her with a face full of tenderness. "My dear child, as the flesh of my own body, don't I know exactly how much you weigh? I always said my belly was so big back then. I must have given birth to twins. Don't you agree, dear husband?" My father suddenly looked enlightened and nodded repeatedly in agreement. "I thought you'd just been eating too many prenatal supplements. But it turns out it's twins. Back then, you almost had a difficult delivery. They must have lost the baby in all the chaos." Surprisingly, everyone accepted this absurd explanation. Even Lucas Lincoln's expression softened. The girl paled, still wanting to argue. Her gaze turned to me, as if waiting for me to react with intense rejection, but all I could think was, no wonder I'm slow to react. This girl's mouth was running like it was on double speed. The excellent genes must have all been passed down to her, but I'm not jealous. After all, I'm already at the bottom of the class. What difference does one more person make? Frowning, I felt uncomfortably full from eating too much, which slowed my thinking even further. Then which one of us is the older sister? Under the girl's expectant gaze, I threw out a completely pointless question. You be the older sister, little one. Take care of your new younger sister, my mother said with a smile. Observing the girl's reaction, she bit her lip, seemingly still unwilling, but ultimately nodded slowly. Mom, I had such a hard life before. She rolled up her sleeve, perhaps intending to show the wounds on her body. Mom stopped her action and considerately draped a blanket over her thinly clad shoulders. Good child, let's not mention the past anymore. By the way, how about I give you a new name? You are our child who was left outside, so let's call you Fiona Lincoln. Fiona Lincoln's grievances stuck in her throat. Okay, Mom. Mom took Fiona Lincoln's hand and warmly showed her around to familiarize her with the surroundings. Overnight, everyone in the Lincoln family, except for Lucy Lincoln who was still working abroad, learned of Fiona Lincoln's existence, and Fiona Lincoln's challenge to me officially began at this moment. As expected, Fiona Lincoln completely outshone me in every aspect. She effortlessly navigated social circles I couldn't fit into, and mastered musical instruments I struggled to learn. Indeed, she seemed more like a true Lincoln family child than I ever was. Amidst the lavish wealth and impeccable service, Fiona Lincoln never again showed the timidity of our first meeting. She repeatedly persuaded my parents to take me for a paternity test. But my mom said, no need, our family can afford to support one more person. At the mid-autumn family banquet, Fiona Lincoln flitted through the crowd like a dancing butterfly. Today, her identity as the fourth Miss of the Lincoln family would be officially introduced to the industry's elite by my parents. For this day, she meticulously prepared a high-end corset gown, with the fitted fabric accentuating her stunning curves. Fiona Lincoln stayed close to her parents, gracefully and confidently toasting and mingling with the guests. Meanwhile, I sat in the corner, discreetly pulling out a can of Coke from under the heavy tablecloth and filling my wine glass with it. Elegant, truly elegant. I swirled my glass and let out a satisfied burp. The only downside was that room temperature cola lacked excitement, its carbonation fading too quickly. Holding the wine glass leisurely, I strolled into the courtyard. I've never been good at handling such grand occasions since childhood, so I was especially grateful for Fiona Lincoln's presence. Lost in thought, I heard rapid footsteps approaching and instinctively hid behind a flower bush. Crouching down, the thick, sticky sound of water and the rustling of fabric made my heart race and cheeks flush. Holy shit, who's getting frisky in the garden? Chandler, someone might see us. Fiona Lincoln's delicate moans mingled with the man's heavy breathing. Baby, you're so beautiful today. Chandler is my arranged marriage partner. Rather than being shocked at how they ended up together, one thought made me cover my mouth in a silent scream. Don't they know my house is surrounded by full-color infrared thermal imaging cameras? I can just picture the security guards staring at each other behind the high-definition screens. Geez, I feel embarrassed for them. By the time those two finally left, my legs had gone completely numb from squatting. My engagement to Chandler was verbally arranged by our elders, a business marriage alliance. Perfectly normal, but we never really got along. Chandler found me dull and uninteresting, while I thought he was too much of a playboy, so the engagement just fizzled out. But it seems Fiona Lincoln is quite happy to be the rebound guy. Chandler is the only heir of the Blake family. The Blake family patriarch's plan for his marriage was, preferably have one child in the first year, two in the second. The more the better. I have deep doubts about Fiona Lincoln's frail physique. Oh well, as long as she's happy. Before I could bend down to lift the tablecloth for a refill, a swaying white figure bumped into me. Ah, sister, why did you splash red wine on me? Fiona Lincoln, with tears in her eyes and a pale face, trembled as she questioned me. Her layered skirt was stained with a large patch of dark wine red. At first glance, it looked like she had just fled from a murder scene. Before I could react, Chandler also came over. Sarah Lincoln, how could you bully your sister? Are you jealous that she's better than you? Big sister definitely didn't mean to. Brother Chandler, don't say that. The center of attention at the family banquet naturally drew everyone's gaze. and soon all eyes were on the corner where I sat, under the curious, drama-loving stares of the onlookers. I leisurely picked up the nearby 1.25L jumbo bottle of soda, my eyes sparkling with innocence. "Are you talking about me? But I'm just drinking cola, you know." Everyone's faces instantly twisted into expressions of speechless exasperation. "Chandler is still pestering. Who drinks cola at a cocktail party? You're just bullying Fiona Lincoln and won't admit it. Do you know how hard she's worked for today?" "I don't know. I really don't know how hard she's worked. I'm allergic to alcohol and never drink." "Then you're the one who took Fiona Lincoln's wine glass." Then I'd have 2 glasses in my hand. I don't really want to waste any more words on this nitpicker. In the end, it was Fiona Lincoln who cut the argument short. "It was my fault for not seeing clearly and bumping into you, sister. I apologize to you." With tears in her eyes, she bowed deeply to me, while the onlookers murmured among themselves, "In truth, who cares whose fault it was that the wine got spilled?" Fiona Lincoln had only one goal, to create the illusion that she was being targeted by me. While maintaining her image of humility and obedience, let the rest be left to gossip and speculation. With Fiona Lincoln's tearful eyes in front and Chandler's aggressive stance behind, I found myself somewhat troubled. Just then, an elegant and tall figure broke the tension. Lucy Lincoln's slender fingers lifted Fiona Lincoln's chin with a faint, enigmatic smile. "You're very talented. Would you like to be the female lead in my new film?" Fiona Lincoln was flattered and immediately agreed. A role under Lucy Lincoln's direction is priceless, let alone the female lead. After much deliberation, I decided to subtly hint to Lucy Lincoln to be wary of Fiona Lincoln. Stammering for a long time in front of Lucy Lincoln, I could only manage to squeeze out one sentence. "She's not a good person." Lucy Lincoln blew a smoke ring at me, watching with amusement as I pinched my nose and coughed. "If you're worried, then come join the crew with me. Big Sis will show you a good show." Fiona Lincoln's sudden appearance in the crew sparked heated discussions. Director Luo really values talent more. After all, look, Fiona Lincoln got the lead role right away, while Sarah Lincoln could only watch from the sidelines. I've long heard that Sarah Lincoln is a useless heiress. Maybe the rumors are true. She might not even be a real member of the Lincoln family. I sat under the awning, sipping juice while watching Fiona Lincoln sweating profusely under the scorching sun. I scoffed at the hushed whispers beside me. These words, I've heard them so often lately that my ears are about to grow calluses. Fiona Lincoln's first scene in the crew involved being hoisted by wires and plunging into water. Although she had undergone systematic training before the official shoot, she still seemed a bit hesitant. Lucy Lincoln put her arm around her shoulders and pointed at the award-winning actor Alan not far away. "Little sister, your starting point is acting opposite an award-winning actor. You're already way ahead of most people. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. It's okay if you don't do well. After all, you can't possibly be worse than Sarah Lincoln." Since Fiona Lincoln arrived, "Little Sister" is no longer my exclusive nickname. Such affectionate instructions clearly pleased Fiona Lincoln greatly. "Big Sister, I can definitely do this well." She nodded confidently. Then came 18 consecutive NGs. Lucy Lincoln pursued perfection and never went easy, raised high and dropped hard. I thought Fiona Lincoln would call for a stop, but she truly persevered. By evening, I understood the significance of Fiona Lincoln's actions. Our comparison photos at the theater went viral together. Hashtag Fiona Lincoln God-given talent. Hashtag Fiona Lincoln professional dedication. Hashtag Fiona Lincoln Sarah Lincoln comparison. Hashtag what's it like to have a mean elder sister. In the picture, Fiona Lincoln was diligently performing difficult aerial maneuvers, while I sat cross-legged in the shade playing landlords. It's not that I didn't want to help. I really couldn't be of any use. Aside from the netizens who accused me of making things difficult for Fiona Lincoln, my mom was the first at home to lose her temper. "How many times have I told you not to sit with your legs crossed? You never listen." "All right, my bad." Lucy Lincoln dragged me along to follow the crew for a few days, and then I just didn't want to go anymore. These days, I've been getting photographed by paparazzi from every angle imaginable, and Fiona Lincoln and I are constantly trending on social media, with everyone gossiping about us. It's so annoying. However, Fiona Lincoln is thoroughly enjoying herself. With her popularity soaring and even boosting the Lincoln family's stock prices, with a grand gesture, Dad transferred 5% of the company's shares to Fiona Lincoln as a wrap gift. The gossip mill says this is what it means to be the truly favored heiress. What kind of life was Sarah Lincoln living before? No car, no house, no power, no comparison, no pain. Indeed, I also think they're right. But hey, I have a mouth to ask my parents for money. Having money is all that matters, isn't it? Fiona Lincoln clearly isn't satisfied. She not only gained a large number of fan supporters but also received recognition from her family. Her mother placed 2 duck legs into her bowl. I admit, I'm jealous. Fiona Lincoln smiled gently and said, Mom, as an actress, I need to maintain my figure and can't eat greasy food. Let's give them to my sister instead. It's all right, you go ahead and eat. Your sister used to have too much rich food. Now it's good for her to have a lighter diet. Fiona Lincoln's smile twisted slightly, but she quickly regained her composure. Dad, I'd like to join our family company to learn. Would that be okay? Of course, taking initiative to learn is always good. Lucas Lincoln, please arrange it. My taciturn second brother nodded in agreement. Does Sarah Lincoln want to join us? I shook my head repeatedly. Making me work a 996 schedule would be like serving a prison sentence. No way I'm going. My father delivered the final blow with a completely expressionless face. Don't give her a hard time. Isn't it nice to just stay at home? It's not like we can't afford the electricity bill. See, this is how my uselessness was nurtured. A week after Fiona Lincoln went to the company for training, an anonymous email was sent to the inboxes of the Lincoln family's employees. It was the paternity test results between me and my father. The results indicate a high degree of DNA mismatch between the tested samples, confirming no blood relation. As the saying goes, when the wall is about to collapse, everyone gives it a push. Another saying goes, walls have ears. The first to come knocking was the Blake family. The Blake family and the Lincoln family are of equal status. One might say they are on par with each other. The patriarch of the Blake family leaned on his cane, his expression kind and amiable yet his gaze sharp. I've heard about Sarah Lincoln's situation. In my opinion, as an old man, there's no need to cancel the engagement. I think Fiona Lincoln is quite good. Chandler often praises her in front of me. After all, the initial agreement was to arrange a marriage with a daughter of the Lincoln family. It never specified which one exactly. Even I could read between the lines of what the Blake family patriarch was implying. The whole point was to unite 2 powerful families. Who would want to marry a fake with no blood ties? Fiona Lincoln and Chandler have had eyes for each other for a long time. I haven't gone back on my word. Our 2 families still need to cooperate. Fiona Lincoln stood shyly to the side, quietly waiting for her parents to make the decision. Lucy Lincoln and Lucas Lincoln remained expressionless, showing no obvious emotional fluctuations. As for me, I had already lost the privilege of being present at the meeting and could only eavesdrop by clinging to the staircase. In the end, it was Dad who reluctantly nodded. Then the 2 families began discussing the specific wedding date and arrangements. I didn't listen any further and quietly tiptoed back to my room. I knew why my parents were in such a hurry to push for this marriage, along with the paternity test results. My lifelong misdeeds were also exposed. A self-proclaimed classmate of mine posted online, accusing me of school bullying and academic fraud. An unknown third-rate male celebrity accused me of participating in casting couch practices and sexual harassment. There were also employees of the Lincoln family who revealed how I squandered the family's assets and mistreated the staff. This is pure alarmism. After realizing I was slow to react and couldn't keep up with school, my mom hired a private tutor for one-on-one lessons. I haven't been to school since then. Those accusing me of under-the-table deals and sexual harassment should take a look at their own faces. They don't even have a quarter of Lucas Lincoln's good looks. What am I even doing this for? And those saying I exploit employees. I only went to the company for 1 day, and all I did was sleep or play spider solitaire. So I mistreated the company computers. Is that it? But these baseless rumors struck the unprepared Lincoln family like a sudden blow. Public opinion overwhelmingly turned against the Lincoln family, with people spontaneously boycotting their businesses, causing internal panic within the company. The best solution is to abandon me and let Fiona Lincoln marry Chandler to divert attention. The true heiress returns in glory, while the imposter flees in disgrace. Isn't this exactly what everyone wants to see? To be honest, even the bystanders thought so. I myself don't feel like a real heiress. Lazy, gluttonous, dull, and boring. Not only am I light years behind my siblings on the path to success, but I'm also nothing like those glamorous socialites who frequent high-end venues in the public's imagination. So when I saw that paternity test, I actually felt relieved. so it turns out I'm really not mom and dad's child after all. It's like a dream. Even after waking up, the emotions still linger, even though I didn't do those things. I've decided to leave on my own initiative, after all. Blood ties are the sharpest blade for dividing interests. Fiona Lincoln and I are destined to stand on opposite sides. The difference in importance is obvious. Thinking back to the first few days Fiona Lincoln arrived at our home, Mom was so resistant to the paternity test. She must have known my true identity all along, but still wanted to protect me. The Lincoln family name alone is enough to ensure I never have to worry about food or clothing for the rest of my life. I also understood Fiona Lincoln's hostility, how detestable to occupy another's place without realizing it. Everything I have should rightfully be hers. The more I thought about it, the sadder I became, and I hugged my pillow, silently crying. I don't know how much time passed before my mother knocked on my door. Little sister, Mom has something to discuss with you. Mom had never spoken to me in such a cautious tone before. She must be afraid I'd have an emotional breakdown. Fiona Lincoln is feeling somewhat resistant toward you now. She's about to marry Chandler. Mom thinks it would be best for you to move out for a while, and we'll bring you back after Fiona Lincoln gets married. Okay. Mom's eyes were red, her head lowered as she avoided meeting my gaze. I think a while probably means forever. Not wanting to make things harder for Mom, I nodded decisively. That very night, I packed my bags and left early. I knew my mother would never treat me unfairly. But they had already done enough for me. I couldn't continue using the Lincoln family's money with a clear conscience. Dragging my suitcase through the late-night streets, I felt lost and melancholic. Find a place to sleep first, hotel or internet cafe. Should I familiarize myself with the ways of a homeless person in advance? The roar of the engine rang in my ears. Lucas Lincoln rolled down the car window, his expression displeased. What are you doing with a suitcase in the middle of the night? Running away from home, I pursed my lips and looked up, forcing back the tears in my eyes. I'm not your real sister anyway, so it's none of your business. Still got a sharp tongue. Get in the car. I'm not going home. That's not my home anymore. Don't worry, I won't make things difficult for you. Lucas Lincoln didn't waste words, getting out of the car to grab my suitcase. Not going home. You'll stay at my place. I can afford to keep you. I covered my chest, overwhelmed with emotions. This isn't good. We're going to be sent to the German orthopedic department. Lucas Lincoln fastened my seatbelt, rolling his eyes in exasperation. Crazy. The news of the fake heiress being kicked out of the family spread like wildfire. The onlookers applauded with glee, then turned their attention to another major event in the Lincoln family. Fiona Lincoln's wedding of the century. The Cheen and Luo family spared no expense, investing millions and countless resources to prepare for this grand banquet. On the wedding day alone, Fiona Lincoln had over 10 wedding dresses, all handcrafted by internationally renowned designers. For a moment, Fiona Lincoln became the most envied woman. I sat on the steps eating a grilled sausage, watching the media's relentless praise for this wedding on the mall's screen. Several figures approached me. Oh, isn't this the fake heiress who got kicked out of the family? It's Chandler and his bunch of good-for-nothing friends. I usually feed this kind of sausage to my dog. He pointed at the half-eaten sausage in my hand and sneered. I looked up at him seriously and replied, "Don't think saying that will make me feed you." The air fell silent for a moment before someone burst into laughter. Wasn't she supposed to be an idiot? That was a pretty quick comeback. Ha ha ha. Chandler gritted his teeth, grabbed me by the collar in a rage. You still think you're the Lincoln family heiress? I have 100 ways to make you disappear from this world. Oh wow, I'm so scared. I humbly offer this grilled sausage in fear and trembling. Please be magnanimous, don't stoop to my level. The way I said it made it sound like Chandler was really fighting me over a sausage. The playboys nearby were grinning from ear to ear. Chandler, don't stoop to her level. Hurry up and tell us how you managed to win over the real heiress of the Lincoln family. Chandler smirked triumphantly and pushed me to the ground. Sarah Lincoln, I'll spare your pathetic life today. Just watch with your dog eyes how I take over the Lincoln family. Chandler dropped his threat, got into his supercar, and sped away. The way he said it, it's just a marriage alliance. Why does it sound like he's trying to destroy the Lincoln family? I became suspicious. My not-so-bright little brain kept turning, and I finally came to a conclusion. Fiona Lincoln must be hiding something, but Lucas Lincoln never showed up again after dropping me off at my place that night, and my messages went unanswered. Only when I calmed down did I realize I couldn't reach anyone from the Lincoln family at this moment. This doesn't make sense. going there directly might alert them. After brainstorming, I remembered something: the cameras in the courtyard garden. When we first moved into the new house, the security system was configured to recognize devices belonging to my parents and us 3 children. We can directly check the surveillance footage of the villa on our phones. Fiona Lincoln must not know about this, which is why she's so brazenly intimate with Chandler in the courtyard. If the cameras captured anything, I opened my phone, watching the software load the login progress. My heart pounding. Login successful. The mobile cloud can only retain surveillance information from the past 30 days. I carefully reviewed the footage. Now all I could do was pray for another miracle. Got it. Heaven truly did not fail me. Just a week ago, after I left the Lincoln family, Fiona Lincoln walked to a secluded corner of the courtyard with her phone in hand. Her fingers tapped the screen, but I couldn't see clearly, only vaguely making out that it was a chat interface. Fiona Lincoln moved swiftly, typing while glancing around, and soon turned off the screen. I feel a bit discouraged. It seems I got my hopes up for nothing. Just as I was about to drag the progress bar, Fiona Lincoln suddenly spoke. Does this count as completing the task? Strange. Who is she talking to? No one is nearby. Sarah Lincoln is no match for me at all. The most successful move was getting connected with the Blake family in advance. Fiona Lincoln seemed to be talking to herself. Yet every word she spoke sent chills down my spine. Once the wedding is over, everything from the Lincoln family will be mine. What exactly is this woman plotting? For wealth or for life? But none of this is necessary. Without me as an obstacle, Fiona Lincoln would become the central figure between the Blake and Lincoln families. What more could she possibly want? Under my relentless phone bombardment, Lucas Lincoln remained as quiet as a chicken. I had no choice but to send him the recording and a reminder message. Something big will definitely happen at the wedding. Be careful of Fiona Lincoln. Lucas Lincoln finally responded. Just behave yourself. What iPhone? I'll pretend I didn't see it, even if my compassionate heart overflows with the desire to save someone, even if it's just a false alarm. I don't want my family to get hurt, even if they're just my family from the past. Fiona Lincoln and Chandler's wedding will be held on a closed luxury cruise ship to ensure privacy. Guests must present an invitation to enter, so there's no way for me to sneak in. I was still racking my brains over whether scalp tickets for the wedding could be bought when I suddenly remembered I'm now broke. Damn these rich people. I was at my wit's end and had started considering the possibility of hiding in the cargo hold, but then an unexpected guest arrived at the door. Fiona Lincoln looked down her nose with an arrogant expression, surveying the furnishings in the room. My place embodies minimalist chic. Think classic international student starter pack. Lucas Lincoln said he couldn't bear to see you homeless, so he found a place for you to stay. Turns out it's just like this. What are you here for? If it's to show off, don't bother. My tone wasn't exactly polite. Fiona Lincoln, however, responded with a contemptuous smile. This is your true self, isn't it? Who were you pretending to be with that calm and indifferent act before? She took out an exquisite invitation from her bag and handed it to me. Just as I reached out to take it, she let go. The invitation fell straight to the ground, bending one corner. You've always wanted to contact them, haven't you? Here's your chance. Don't waste it. Fiona Lincoln walked away without looking back, the sound of her heels clicking against the floor echoing in my heart. I'll see what tricks she's up to avoid drawing attention. I went all out with heavy makeup and even prepared a wig. Putting on a wig and changing my coat in the mall's women's restroom, the prying eyes behind me finally disappeared. The day after meeting Fiona Lincoln, I could sense someone following me as soon as I stepped out. These little tails were sticking close. Probably Fiona Lincoln was afraid I might do something unexpectedly crazy, but she was clearly overthinking it. Taking a taxi to the pier, I saw wedding guests arriving one after another. After changing into a formal dress again, I suppressed the unease in my heart and stepped onto the cruise ship. Fiona Lincoln's wedding was extravagantly luxurious. The invited guests included not only celebrities from all walks of life but also numerous media reporters armed with their cameras. They truly maximized the benefits of this marriage alliance. After all the guests had boarded, the massive cruise ship slowly departed from the shore, heading towards the open sea. This cruise ship combines practicality with entertainment, featuring not only cabins for guests to rest but also various recreational facilities such as a casino, swimming pool, cinema, and song and dance theater inside. All expenses for the guests will be charged to the accounts of the Blake and Lincoln families. The wedding ceremony takes place on the open-air deck at the top level. My seat is far in the back, where I can only see the intricate white train of Fiona Lincoln's wedding dress. No problem, there are drones and large screens for live broadcasting on site. The bride and groom enter, take their vows, give speeches, exchange rings, and cut the cake. Everything follows the standard procedure, yet, the unease in my heart keeps growing. Finally, the free networking session arrived, and I lifted my skirt to push my way toward the Lincoln family. The area was already crowded with wealthy businessmen and socialites vying for collaboration opportunities, instead of moving forward. I was pushed further away, forcing me to shout Lucas Lincoln's name loudly. Lucas Lincoln's gaze briefly landed on my mottled face before quickly looking away. He didn't recognize me. I had no choice but to call Lucy Lincoln's name, but she, anticipating this unavoidable small talk, had wisely put on her headphones. Though she looked cool, I knew she was definitely listening to some cheesy dance music. With the thought of giving it a try, I called out for Mom, amid the noisy crowd. Mom spotted me waving my arms at a glance. She slightly opened her mouth in surprise and whispered to Lucas Lincoln beside her. Lucas Lincoln quickly came to stand before me. Sarah Lincoln, it's me, what are you doing here? There's no time, hurry and hide downstairs. Lucas Lincoln pushed me while glancing around. What the hell, Lucas Lincoln, you better explain clearly what's going on. I staggered forward, turning back to look at Mom and Dad. A series of muffled gunshots pierced the sky. The catastrophe struck at that very moment. Pirates, everyone, get down, help. Amidst the chaotic footsteps, sharp cries for help could be heard. Lucas Lincoln held me tightly, pressing my head against his chest. Don't look, don't be afraid, Big Brother is here. The hatch leading to the lower deck was locked. There was no escape. How could there be pirates in territorial waters? It's not pirates, they're hired mercenaries. The crew on board has been bribed by them. Lucas Lincoln pulled me into a corner. The screams had turned into low whimpers. Most of the guests were already under control, and the sound of approaching footsteps grew nearer. Stay here and don't make a sound. They're looking for me. Just wait until help arrives. Lucas Lincoln patted my head, and I tugged at his sleeve, pleading with tear-filled eyes. Brother, don't go. Lucas Lincoln didn't look back at me. He stood up and walked out. The sound of footsteps faded away. I closed my eyes and prayed, hearing the deafening throb of my pulse in the silence. When I opened my eyes, all I saw was a flash of cold light, the sound of something cutting through the air right by my ear. When Lucas Lincoln was captured, several top wealthy families, including the Blake and Lincoln families, knelt on the ground along with their relatives. The hooded thug glared fiercely and kicked hard at the back of his knees. Who's the richest person here? Everyone's gaze simultaneously fell upon the Blake family's patriarch and father. This old fox sure knows how to put on a convincing act. Ever since learning about the Blake family's plan to eliminate the Lincoln family at the wedding, my parents had devised a strategy to secretly gather evidence of the Blake family's crimes. But the old fox was too cunning. It wasn't until just before the wedding officially began that my parents finally obtained all the evidence. The police needed time to set up their ambush, and with the cruise ship's course constantly deviating, they had to take control of the Blake family before reaching international waters. Lucas Lincoln's gaze fell on Fiona Lincoln, dressed in her pristine white wedding gown. It was this woman who colluded with Chandler and betrayed the Lincoln family, to divert her attention away from our younger sister. Our parents painfully severed ties with her, yet our younger sister still appeared on the cruise ship today. The armed thugs forced members of the Blake and Lincoln families into a room at the bow of the ship. The Blake family patriarch and Chandler no longer concealed their intentions, and Fiona Lincoln also stood up. President Lincoln, let's cut to the chase, hand over the password, and I might spare your family. Only father knew the password to the Lincoln family's digital assets. As for the other physical assets, Fiona Lincoln would inherit everything as long as the Lincoln family was wiped out. The old man had long planned to take down the entire Lincoln family, get them safely back to shore, and I'll give you the password. You really think I'm stupid? Without leverage, how can I threaten you, since there's no trust between us? There's no point in continuing this discussion. Dad is stalling for time. Old man Blake would never let anyone go. If we die, you'll be the prime suspect. Everyone on the cruise ship can testify to that. Old man Blake burst into laughter. I'll explain that the Lincoln family traded all their assets with the criminals in exchange for everyone's safety, but you unfortunately perished during the resistance, and the Blake family also suffered heavy losses. You'll be remembered as great philanthropists and heroes. And I'll arrange proper burials and erect monuments for you. What a perfect plan. Fiona Lincoln also laughed, clapping her hands in response to the puzzled gazes of those around her. The unconscious Sarah Lincoln was thrown to the ground by the mercenaries outside the door. A family should stay together, shouldn't they, Dad? The Lincoln family must have at least one child left. For their sake, it would be better if you just tell us the password. Dad stared at her coldly. Then what about you? Aren't you a child of the Lincoln family? Who are you? Me, whoever I need to be. As long as I get what I want. Enough talk. Who should we start with? My hair was yanked roughly, the excruciating pain made me dizzy, and my vision blurred with blood. Lucy Lincoln and Lucas Lincoln collapsed on the ground, their wounds bleeding profusely, their condition unknown. Fiona Lincoln was still pressing our parents for answers. It hurts so much. Mom, Dad, Sarah Lincoln is awake. Dad, we're running out of time. Fiona Lincoln grinds her heel into my fingers. Mom turns her head away, tears streaming as she tightly shuts her eyes. The Blake family patriarch spoke impatiently, striking his cane heavily on the ground. Hurry up, there's no other way, Dad. Fiona Lincoln ordered the mercenaries to point their guns at me. I struggled to lunge at Fiona Lincoln. I'll drag her down with me even if it kills me. Shards of glass scattered before my eyes as the mercenary in front of me was knocked to the ground. Reinforcements have arrived. The mercenaries in the house were gradually subdued as the Blake family patriarch and his group made their way toward the lifeboats on the deck. Take her as a hostage. Chandler grabbed me and we fled together. Under the cover of the remaining mercenaries, the lifeboat was lowered onto the sea. Here's the problem. There's one extra person, old Mr. Blake's sharp gaze flickered between me and Fiona Lincoln. Take me with you. I'm blood related to the Lincoln family. They would never leave me to die. Fiona Lincoln spoke up first. The patriarch of the Blake family nodded, and Chandler shoved me away. I watched as their group boarded the lifeboat, heading toward the nearby international waters. In an instant, a deafening explosion lit up the sea with flames. That lifeboat, it blew up. Lucy Lincoln and Lucas Lincoln sustained gunshot wounds, but fortunately not in fatal areas. I suffered a heavy blow to the head, resulting in a mild concussion. My parents fared slightly better, with only minor injuries. The whole family sat in the hospital, bandaged up, reviewing what had happened. So you all knew this was a setup from the beginning? Dad nodded. We kept it from you to protect you. The person you thought was following you was actually a bodyguard sent by your brother. Your sister's headphones were bugged and recorded all the conversations at the time. They've already been handed over to the police. Lucy Lincoln and Lucas Lincoln revealed a mysterious smile that concealed their true achievements. Why gamble with your life? I still feel a lingering fear when I recall it. As long as the Blake family exists, this calamity was bound to happen sooner or later. We actually received intel about the Blake family's plan to kidnap you very early on. Keeping Fiona Lincoln around was meant to serve as your decoy, which is why we elevated her status to lower your visibility. We just didn't realize she'd already made a deal with the Blake family back then. After playing along with their scheme, things escalated to that point. As they say, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So who exactly is Fiona Lincoln? Isn't she biologically related to Dad? Dad shook his head. And this time Mom spoke up. Her paternity test was fake. We only found out she made a deal with the system to alter the proof. What's the system? Probably some mysterious organization, but there are rumors in our circles that the more successful someone is, the more likely a system might appear around them, especially those young and accomplished cold-hearted CEOs. Everyone's gaze simultaneously fell upon Lucas Lincoln. So Fiona Lincoln's surplus doesn't mean leftover, but rather superfluous. Mom gave me a thumbs up. I breathed a sigh of relief. So Fiona Lincoln must have tampered with my paternity test. It scared me to death. I really thought I wasn't Mom's biological child. The previously relaxed atmosphere instantly grew tense again. Mom bit her lip and lowered her gaze. Little sister, you're indeed not Mom's biological child. I gave birth to a stillborn child. Mom had a difficult labor due to the large fetus, and the baby had already stopped breathing by the time it was delivered. You were an abandoned child Dad found at the hospital, and Mom and Dad adopted you, so I knew from the beginning that Fiona Lincoln was an imposter, because Mom couldn't have brought any life into the world that time. Don't blame your father and me for keeping it from you. We truly treated you as our own child. I'm sorry, little sister. Mom leaned on Dad's shoulder. quietly shedding tears. I stood frozen, unable to speak for a moment, when consciousness returned. My face was already cold with tears. How could I blame Mom and Dad? I'm so happy to be your child. Since childhood, I've always wondered why I'm different from my brother and sister. I'm neither smart nor quick-witted. Learning we're not related by blood, I actually felt a bit relieved, because I've always felt unworthy of being a Lincoln family child. But I love Mom and Dad, my brother and sister so much. And I don't want to give you up to Fiona Lincoln, after bearing my heart. The hospital room dissolved into tears. Mom and Dad don't demand great achievements from you. We just want you to live happily and freely. Through tear-blurred eyes, a question came to my mind. Was that exploding lifeboat also part of your plan? That was fireworks celebrating your true coming of age. Discharged from the hospital, Lucy Lincoln went back to filming. I asked if the movie where Fiona Lincoln was the lead would still be aired. She said it was just a show for Fiona Lincoln, never meant to be real. Does the film emperor still get paid? Must be expensive. She raised an eyebrow, cigarette in hand. Your brother-in-law doesn't charge. Amid my excited questioning, she waved at me and boarded the plane. Lucas Lincoln remained as taciturn as ever. Only now he seemed to take more pleasure in bullying me. Mom and Dad were still bickering at the dinner table as usual. I gnawed on the remnants of a chicken leg, my mouth greasy and smeared. Actually, being a little good-for-nothing in this family isn't so bad after all. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. Transmigrated as the younger sister of the Redemption novel's female lead. I was adopted by the wealthy Gu family in the capital alongside her. Female lead. Mom, don't even think about controlling me. Mom, hurry up and control me. I'm willing to be controlled. Female lead. Brother, you've gone mad. Me, brother, it's not enough yet. Female lead. Little sister, let's leave this house. It's suffocating here. Me, if you want to die, go die somewhere far away. Don't ruin my chance at a good life. I had transmigrated into a novel. Transmigrated as the twin sister of the Redemption novel's female lead, I was adopted by the Gu family, the wealthiest in the capital, along with my sister, but I was overjoyed, because in my previous life, I was born in a remote mountain village and struggled desperately just to escape it. When filling out college applications, with no one to guide me, I ended up choosing an extremely obscure major. After graduation, I couldn't find a job in my field and had to settle for a receptionist position at a small company. My parents yelled at me, "We spent so much money on your college education, and now you can't even find a decent job after graduating." Actually, since I started college, my family stopped giving me any living expenses. I've been supporting myself through part-time jobs and scholarships. Now I work 3 jobs every day. At 4 a.m., I deliver fresh milk to customers. By 9 a.m., I'm at the company working as a receptionist. After clocking out at 6 p.m., I take on a part-time job delivering food. I work this hard just to buy a 30-square-meter apartment in the county town, to have a place I can call my own. But my parents don't agree with me staying in the city. They accepted 180,000 yuan from someone else to marry me off to a fool. That way my younger brother would have the bride price to get married. Of course I refused. My biological parents came to my workplace, knelt on the ground, and desperately kowtowed to me, begging me to go back and get married. They even smashed the milk in my box, threw away customers' takeout orders, and sold my only valuable possession, the electric bike. Just when I was in despair, I transmigrated into a book. It was a redemption story. The story was about the female lead, Baihan, who was adopted by the Gu family from a young age, but found their household suffocating. She fell in love with the free-spirited male lead, Lai Xiang, and together they redeemed each other. But I distinctly remember that when I read this book, Bai Han was adopted by the Gu family alone. She didn't have a twin sister. Since I arrived here, no one has shown the slightest surprise at my presence, as if I had always existed in their world. At this point, the story has progressed to our high school years. Bai Han fell in love with the school bully Lai Xiang, skipping classes with him every day by climbing over walls, and her grades plummeted. Our foster mother, Ms. Chening, was scolding Bai Han. "Xiao Han, you're already in your 2nd year of high school. How could you skip class by climbing over the wall just for some troublemaker?" Before our foster mother could finish, Bai Han anxiously interrupted her. "Mom, Xiang isn't a troublemaker. He's just outgoing. I've already spoken with your school teachers. And this Lai Xiang's grades are so poor he'd struggle to even get into a vocational college. Every day at school, he's either causing trouble or getting into fights. Isn't that exactly what a delinquent is? Upon hearing this, Bai Han stared at Mrs. Chening in disbelief. Mom, you actually investigated me. Mrs. Chening frowned slightly. Ever since you became his desk mate, your grades have dropped from first in the grade to below 100th place. Bai Han tugged at the corner of her clothes, lowered her head, and muttered, hasn't my sister always been at the bottom of the class? Why aren't you scolding her? Me, seriously, is she out of her mind? Ms. Chening turned to glance at me, then let out a heavy sigh. Shao, she just doesn't have a talent for studying. I quickly patted my chest and promised, Mom, don't worry, starting today, I swear I'll study hard. Could you please hire me a tutor? Mom, Ms. Chening smiled at me. Weren't you always unwilling to study before? What suddenly changed your mind? I shamelessly massaged Ms. Chen Ying's shoulders. Mom, I don't want to embarrass the Gu family. Good, since you want to learn, Mom will hire the best tutor for you, who understands, my people, who understands. In my previous life, while attending high school, I also had to help my family with farm work. When there was no work in the fields, my family would bring home a lot of manual labor tasks. I would do my homework until 11 p.m., then help with household chores until 2 a.m., before I could sleep. Because this was the price I paid to attend high school, now, I can attend the best high school and have the best tutors without having to do any work at all. I was so moved that tears streamed down my face, and I quickly threw myself into Mrs. Chen Ying's arms. Mom, you're so good to me. Ms. Chen Ying stiffened, then awkwardly pushed me away. Girls shouldn't. Mom doesn't like you acting this way. I quickly sat up straight, folding my hands over my stomach. Mom, do you like this? Ms. Chen Ying's icy expression almost cracked. She pretended to cough lightly, then earnestly advised Bai Han at length, but Bai Han remained as silent as a mute, stubbornly refusing to utter a word. Finally, Ms. Chen Ying had no choice but to play her trump card, threatening to send her back to the orphanage. Bai Han reluctantly agreed to stop being friends with Lai Xiang, but having read the novel, I knew Bai Han wouldn't actually listen to Ms. Chen Ying. Tomorrow, she would end up sleeping with Lai Xiang, because she wanted to take revenge on her adoptive mother. She felt that her adoptive mother's investigation of her was suffocating. She needed Lai Xiang to take her wild, to make her feel alive. Of course, all of this had nothing to do with me. I just wanted to cling tightly to Ms. Chen Ying's coattails and be an obedient good girl. Yet this outsider butterfly of mine still stirred up a storm in this world. The next day, after school, Bai Han tossed me 200 yuan. Shao Shi, cover for me as usual. Don't go back until 9 tonight. Just say we were studying together at a classmate's place. I didn't even look up. Find another way. Starting today, I have tutoring, and Gu Xingchen is coming back today. Are you sure you don't want to go home? Gu Xingchen is Mrs. Chen Ying's son and our non-biological older brother. He is also the second male lead in this book, who loves Bai Han but cannot have her. He grew up with the female lead, but because Bai Han is the adopted daughter of the Gu family, he kept his love buried deep in his heart. He silently protected the female lead until her marriage, then spent the rest of his life alone abroad. Bai Han picked up the 200 yuan on the table. That home only brings me pain. I don't want to go back at all. After saying that, she left without looking back. I quickly walked out of the school and noticed Ms. Chen Ying's car parked at the main gate. I hurried over and opened the car door. Ms. Chen Ying was sitting in the back seat. I laughed in pleasant surprise. Mom, why are you the one picking me up? Ms. Chen Ying gave a faint smile. Well, I just picked up your brother from the airport, and the timing worked out to come get you and Xiao Han after school. Following her gaze, I looked toward the passenger seat, where the shadows accentuated Gu Xingchen's sharp profile. The shadow cast by his long lashes fell beneath his eyes, making him appear even more aloof and noble. Although he is still just a college student, the innate coldness about him makes it impossible to underestimate him. Gu Xingchen truly lives up to being the most beloved male supporting character among female readers. His physique and aura are leagues better than the male lead, Lai Xiang. I whispered softly. Brother. Gu Xingchen didn't even turn his head, merely responding with a faint, Ms. Chen Ying asked with confusion, where's Xiao Han? Why didn't she come out with you? Just as I was about to speak, I saw Bai Han and Lai Xiang playfully walking out of the school gate together. Chen Ying's face immediately darkened, and she instructed the driver to quietly follow Bai Han. Meanwhile, Gu Xingchen in the passenger seat expressionlessly removed his glasses. I thought he would be very angry, but instead, he leaned his head lightly against the headrest and closed his eyes. Why is Gu Xingchen reacting like this? The book clearly said that every time he saw Bai Han and Lai Xiang together, he would feel particularly heartbroken. Why does he now look like he doesn't want to see them at all? Has he turned love into hatred so early? The car followed Bai Han and Lai Xiang, moving further and further into a remote area, finally stopping in front of a public restroom. Lai Xiang glanced around and led Bai Han into the men's restroom. Mrs. Chen Ning was so angry her hands were trembling. She told me and Gu Xingchen to stay in the car while she quickly got out alone. Soon after, curses from a boy and screams from a girl could be heard coming from the restroom. Not long after, Chen Ning got into the car with Bai Han, whose clothes were disheveled. Bai Han, seeing the car packed with people, looked indignant. Mom, did you bring the whole family to follow me? Chen Ying's face was livid, but she remained silent. I knew she was still concerned about Bai Han's dignity and didn't want to discuss this in front of the driver, preferring to talk about it at home. But Bai Han, for some unknown reason, seemed even more resentful than Mrs. Chen Ning, her face darker than a storm cloud. Finally, they made it home. Gu Xingchen got out of the car and went straight upstairs without so much as a glance at Bai Han, who already looked pitifully aggrieved, was on the verge of tears after this slight from Gu Xingchen. Brother, Bai Han sobbed and called out. Gu Xingchen ignored her. Gu Xingchen still didn't turn around. Why is Gu Xingchen's attitude towards Bai Han so different from what was described in the book? Before I could think further, Mrs. Chen Ying's words interrupted my train of thought. Xiao Han, since you insist on hanging out with this troublemaker instead of focusing on your studies, Mom will send you abroad to study. Mom, please, I don't want to go abroad. I really want to be with him. Please let us be together. He truly makes me feel at home. Chen Ying's shoulders trembled slightly with anger at her words. Xiao Han, I've adopted you and Xiaoxi for over a decade, raising you like princesses. Isn't this your home? It's different, truly different. Mom, what I'm about to say might hurt you, but I have to say it. This house is too cold, devoid of any living warmth. Do you know what Lai Xiang's family atmosphere is like? In the summer, the whole family gathers in the small courtyard to eat, drink, and laugh together. And our home, no talking during meals, no extra helpings of your favorite dishes. I really can't take it anymore. Fine, if that's how you feel, I'll send you back to the orphanage. Chen Ning once again pulled out her trump card, but this time, Bai Han seemed prepared. Mom, I'm about to be an adult. I don't have to go back to the orphanage anymore, and you don't need to threaten me with this anymore. I'm sick of you using it every time I don't obey. Lai Xiang has already prepared a small place for me. He said if I ever have no home, that place will always be my home. Chen Ning hadn't expected Bai Han to say this at all. She froze, momentarily at a loss for words. Mom, I've grown up. You can't control me anymore. I couldn't take it anymore and spoke up. Lai Xiang is still a high school student himself. Where would he get the money to prepare a house for you? It was left to him by his grandfather before he passed away. I looked at Bai Han with an expression that said, "Are you stupid?" and asked, "So this house is the old one his grandparents lived in for decades. So what if I did? It's cozy there, and I like it." Chen Ning widened her eyes, her gaze filled with disappointment. You've even been to his grandparents' house. Bai Han's face flickered with a trace of guilt as he muttered, "No, Xiao Han. Do you have any idea how cheap your behavior makes you look in Lai Xiang's family's eyes? From what I know, this Lai Xiang lives in a rundown apartment in the old city. He brazenly brought a teenage girl like you back to his place. Do you have any idea how you'd be talked about by his neighbors? Your mother and I were lifelong best friends. After she passed away, I took you and your sister into my home. From that day on, I've raised you both as if you were my own daughters. But I never imagined that a girl raised by Chen Ning could do something so shameful." Mrs. Chen Ning looked genuinely heartbroken, her eyes brimming with tears. She's always been such a strong person. Bai Han, you son of a bitch, you can mess with me, but you absolutely cannot mess with my Ms. Chen Ning. I immediately gave her 2 solid punches. Bai Han, you ungrateful wretch, have you had it too good lately and just looking for some trouble? Bai Han's tears flowed uncontrollably. Xiao Shi, you don't understand. Lai Xiang is my life. Without him, I'm like a dead fish. I'm asking you one last time. Will you choose to study abroad or leave this family? In any case, you cannot be with this Lai Xiang. At this moment, Mrs. Chen had put away her vulnerability, and her tone became sharp. Why on earth, Mom? Ms. Chen suddenly fell silent. Having read the novel, I naturally understood why Ms. Chen had gone quiet, because Bai Han's biological father had an affair with Lai Xiang's mother, and was caught red-handed by her own mother. In a fit of rage, Bai Han's mother stabbed her father to death and then took her own life. Because the incident was too tragic, Ms. Chen kept it hidden from her. But telling her wouldn't have made a difference. Later, Bai Han learned the truth but still chose to stay with Lai Xiang. In her eyes, nothing could compare to her love. Mom, just think of me as greedy. I can't give up on you, but I can't give up on him either. Mom, I'm begging you, please let me be with him. Bai Han's words left both me and Mrs. Chen speechless. At that moment, Gu Xingchen slowly descended the stairs. He had changed into casual clothes. With slightly disheveled hair still damp, as if he had just taken a shower, Gu Xingchen glanced lightly at Bai Han. You'd better leave. Since childhood, you've always been telling me how oppressive and painful our lives are. If that's the case, then please leave this home and go live the carefree life you desire. Hearing this, Bai Han froze in place, unable to believe his ears. Brother, you're insane. No wonder Bai Han looked as if he'd seen a ghost. After all, Gu Xingchen had always been the one most afraid of Bai Han leaving. Gu Xingchen's brows furrowed slightly, but the tension quickly eased. I've already asked Aunt Wu to pack your things. You can leave tonight. Gu Xingchen's actions even shocked Madame Chen, but she's also furious right now, waiting for Bai Han to apologize. If Bai Han agrees to study abroad now, I think Ms. Chen would still soften her stance. However, Bai Han was so enraged by Gu Xingchen's words that she lost all reason and, of course, wouldn't apologize. She picked up her luggage, defiantly threw away the bank card Gu Xingchen had prepared for her, and left home without looking back. From childhood to adulthood, she had always maintained a superior attitude when facing Gu Xingchen. She could effortlessly sway his emotions. Her every move tugged at Gu Xingchen's heartstrings. She had always known that Gu Xingchen loved her but could never have her. The more this was the case, the more she enjoyed flaunting her love for Lai Xiang in front of Gu Xingchen. Seeing Gu Xingchen endure the pain in silence gave her an indescribable sense of pleasure. But now, Gu Xingchen actually kicked her out of the Gu family. The spoiled Bai Han naturally couldn't accept this. The look she gave Gu Xingchen as she left clearly said she would wait for him to come crawling back to her like a stray dog. The drama of Bai Han's eventual break with the Gu family, originally set for years later, had now been moved up. But all of this was actually orchestrated by Gu Xingchen. Just as I was puzzled, Ms. Chen Ying's phone rang. There was an emergency at the company, and she had to rush to handle it. At that moment, only Gu Xingchen and I remained in the living room. He picked up the glass on the table, his slender fingers rubbing the rim, while those dark, icy eyes stared deeply at me. Who are you? Why are you here? My heart suddenly skipped a beat, and countless thoughts flashed through my mind in an instant. Why would Gu Xingchen ask that? No one here showed any strangeness about my presence, indicating that my role indeed exists in this world. If he's asking this, he must have experienced a world where I didn't exist before. Moreover, all his reactions are completely different from the Gu Xingchen described in the book. Could it be that this Gu Xingchen before me is reborn? This way, his sudden change in attitude toward Bai Han could also be explained. Never mind, for now, I can only play dumb. Brother, what are you talking about? I'm Xiao Shi, you know. I left Mom when I was little. Gu Xingchen stared at me coldly, then drank the water in his hand. Oh my God, that scared me to death. I need to find a way to avoid Gu Xingchen quickly. I hurriedly went to find Ms. Chen. Mom, if my sister doesn't want to study abroad, I'm willing to go. During the time I was preparing to study abroad, Bai Han often texted me, asking if I wanted to move out of the Gu family and live with her. I sent her a text message in reply. If you want to die, go die somewhere far away. Don't ruin my good life. Then I blocked her without hesitation. Soon, Ms. Chen arranged the study abroad procedures for me, and I went overseas to continue my education. Before long, Gu Xingchen also went abroad to study. Meanwhile, Ms. Chen Ying's business empire expanded once again, and over these years, she has been continuously developing international operations overseas. 5 years later, Mom, I called you as soon as I got off the plane. Have you come to pick me up, Mom? Mom has an unexpected important shareholders meeting. So I asked your brother to pick you up, then there's no need, I'll just take a taxi back myself. With that, I was about to make a quick exit. Mom's voice came through the phone, your brother is already there. Not far away, Gu Xingchen was dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit, with a pair of gold-rimmed glasses perched on the bridge of his nose. His cool gaze passed through the lenses and landed on me. Back, in the car. Silence prevailed the entire way. Just as I was about to get out of the car, Gu Xingchen suddenly spoke up. After thinking for 5 years, have you figured out how to answer me? Can I have 5 more years to think about it, please? Night. Mom finally came back from her meeting. I quickly got her slippers ready, heated up the meal, and sat at the table watching her eat. Mom, I missed you so much. Mom's face turned slightly red under my gaze. After just a few bites, she put down her chopsticks. Mom, why aren't you eating? You've lost so much weight from all your traveling these past few years. I won't stare at you anymore. Let's talk after you finish eating. Also, I made all these dishes myself. While I was abroad, I learned how to cook all your favorite dishes. Xiaoxi, didn't I hire a housekeeper for you? You don't need to bother with cooking. I know, Mom is the best in the world. That's exactly why I want to cook for you. But don't worry, no one else gets to taste my cooking except you. When Mom finishes her meal, I follow behind her like a little tail. Mom, can I have a hug? Mom, I miss you so much. Mom was exasperated by my calls. You've been video calling me every single day while abroad. Why are you still so clingy now that you're back? Mom, have you ever heard of a mama's girl, Ms. Chening, Xiaoxi, now that you've graduated? What are your career plans for the future? No, I'll listen to whatever Mom says. Wherever Mom wants me to go, I'll go. Whatever Mom wants me to do, I'll do. Mom couldn't help but laugh in exasperation. Your brother has already founded several tech companies during his college years, and they're all doing very well. He's made it clear he won't be taking over my business. So, Xiaoxi, you'll come to my company and help me out. I nodded obediently. To start with, you'll spend some time getting familiar with things at a subsidiary. Later, I'll transfer you to the main group. Okay, Mom. I know. Start from the bottom, right? Mom looked at me suspiciously. You're Chen Ying's daughter. How could you start from the bottom? I've arranged for you to be the vice president at the subsidiary. Ah, folks, can you believe it? I'm totally the boss's daughter. Mom stood up. Let's go. You're about to start work, and I'll buy you a few more bags. Mom, you've already bought me a whole wall of Hermes. Coincidentally, a new Hermes store is opening today, and the store manager sent me an invitation. They've reserved a few exotic leather pieces for me. Go see if there's anything you like. Call your brother too. It's been a long time since our family got together. When we arrived at the store, the ribbon-cutting ceremony was taking place at the entrance. The store manager hurried out to greet us. Ms. Chen, welcome. We've prepared some refreshments and a private viewing for you. Please come with me to the VIP room. Just as we were following the store manager inside, suddenly, a familiar figure caught my eye. Bai Han. At that moment, she was wearing a bright red cheongsam, holding a tray in her hands, standing at the store entrance with a forced smile. Bai Han also saw the three of us and murmured as if about to speak, yet none of the three of us stopped, passing by her as we entered the VIP room. Her body froze in place instantly. Inside the VIP room, my mother picked out 3 bags for me at once. A small house in first snow, a matte Birkin, and a Himalaya with diamond hardware. Gu Xingchen swiped his card without hesitation. We bought so much that the store manager arranged for several staff members to help carry our purchases to the car. Perhaps because it was opening day, the staff were overwhelmed, and in the end, they even had Bai Han, who was working as a hostess, help deliver our items. My mom, Gu Xingchen, and I strolled leisurely ahead. Mom was earnestly briefing me on the personnel structure of the branch company's leadership, and I also tilted my head, listening carefully. A sudden scream interrupted our conversation. We instinctively turned our heads toward the sound. It turned out that Bai Han, wearing 10 centimeters high heels and carrying several heavy tea sets, lost her balance and twisted her ankle. A nearby shop assistant quickly grabbed her hand. Be careful, if these tea sets break, you couldn't afford to replace them. She ignored the assistant and instead quickly looked up at the three of us, her gaze swept across our faces, perhaps searching for any trace of sympathy in our expressions, but to her disappointment, there wasn't a trace of extra emotion on our faces. The shop assistant was still scolding her, and Bai Han looked defiant, ready to retort. Of course she wouldn't take it lying down, before she turned 16. Even if she had smashed such tea sets for fun, no one would have dared say a word to her. But Bai Han seemed to think of something, and she swallowed her anger in the end. The clerk carefully placed the items, and just as we were about to get into the car, Bai Han unexpectedly opened the rear door on her own and climbed right in. The other clerks' expressions instantly changed, and they all reached out to pull her down. One supervisor kept apologizing repeatedly. She fiercely slapped away the clerk's hands and shouted, "Get away from me, they're my family, mom, brother. Say something." The clerk looked uncertainly at Mom, who simply said calmly, "Xiao Wang, call the police. Xiao Wang is our family's driver." Without any hesitation, Xiao Wang took out his phone and dialed 110 directly. Seeing this, Bai Han could only step out of the car with a sorrowful expression, limping as he followed the clerk. After just a few steps, I heard the mocking voices of the shop assistants. "Some people are really desperate to get rich, no kidding. Even daring to mess with the porcelain of the Gu family, the wealthiest in the capital's elite circle. Bai Han, the damage you've caused to our brand image this time, I'll report it to your agency. As for how the responsibility will be determined, I'll escalate it to our store manager for his decision." Bai Han didn't say a word, just followed behind them. On the way back, I could sense Mom was feeling a bit down. I took her arm and gently rested my head on her shoulder. My mom is the best in the whole world. This time, Mom didn't push me away either, just said with a proud tone, "Flatterer, hee." After resting at home for half a month, I went to work at the branch office. On the first day of work, when my limited edition Ferrari parked in my reserved spot, Fu Qi, the president of the branch, was already waiting outside the company with a group of executives. "Hello, President Bai. I'm Fu Qi, the head of this branch office." Fu Qi is around 40 years old. With an elegant demeanor, he first briefly introduced a few managers standing behind him, then continued, "President Bai, do you have time now? Let me show you around the branch office. Ha ha ha, folks, can you believe it? Sis here just got promoted to President Bai. Thank you, Mom, I love you." Fu Qi made a gesture of invitation, letting me go first. He followed half a step behind me, introducing each department of the company. When we reached the administrative department, unexpectedly, I encountered Bai Han again. Today, Bai Han was wearing a slightly worn white hoodie with a pair of casual pants. Her hair was loosely tied up, and her expressionless face made her look utterly exhausted. Looking at me, dressed in an Armani haute couture suit paired with a smoke gray silk shirt, even in 10-centimeter heels, my posture remains impeccably upright. The power and confidence bestowed by my family make me appear both self-assured and proud. Bai Han is also staring at me with a complicated expression. Embarrassment, surprise, envy, and resentment take turns flashing across her face. "Everyone, stop what you're doing. Let me introduce our company's new Deputy General Manager, Bai Ishi." The people in the administrative department greeted me with smiles when they heard my name, but their sidelong glances were all directed at Bai Han. Because our names make it hard not to draw connections, the head of the administrative department introduced each of the employees to me one by one. When he introduced Bai Han, he secretly observed my expression. Seeing that I showed no unusual reaction, he proceeded to introduce Bai Han with relief. "This is a new employee who hasn't been with us for long, President Bai. You can call her Xiao Han. You can assign her tasks like buying coffee or running errands in the future." Bai Han clenched her pants tightly, keeping her head down without saying a word. I nodded and was soon surrounded by executives, heading to the next department, but I could feel a gaze lingering on me from behind for a long time. At the end of the introductions, Fu Qi escorted me to my office. Can you believe it, folks? As a vice president, I have an entire floor to myself for my office. But who cares when the whole building is mine? I can afford it. As soon as I sat down, Bai Han came in with a glass of water. After putting the glass down, she didn't leave. Instead, she stared at me with teary eyes. What kind of drama is she trying to pull now? Xiao Shi, do you really not recognize me as your sister anymore? No matter what, you and I are twins bound by blood. Without even lifting my eyelids, I stared at the computer and said, "When you left home to pursue true love, Why didn't you think about us being twins bound by blood? Didn't you abandon Mom and me of your own accord? I was too young back then. I didn't understand. I chuckled lightly as I looked at her. Don't tell me you regret it now. She awkwardly looked away. Lai Xiang and I are getting divorced soon. Yo, the couple who loved each other to the point of destroying heaven and earth are getting divorced. In the original novel, they were sweet and loving until they were 80 years old. Even their grandchildren envied their relationship. Seeing that I didn't respond, Bai Han's tears finally couldn't be held back anymore. Covering her eyes with both hands, she sobbed. After leaving home, I lived with Lai Xiang the whole time. Because we didn't use contraception, I got pregnant not long after. So I dropped out of high school without graduating and had the baby, a daughter. From that day on, the kind faces of that whole big family changed. Without any education, I couldn't find a job. So Lai Xiang told me to stay home and take care of the child. Every day when I woke up, there was endless housework. I had to cook for over a dozen people, do laundry, clean, and take care of the baby, and even so, they still thought I was living comfortably at home without working. Bai Han sobbed as she spoke. Later, I went to the villa to look for you so many times, but you were never there. Little sister, I want to go home. Please beg Mom and Big Brother for me. I don't want Lai Xiang anymore. I just want you all. Looking at Bai Han before me, I recalled the nauseating ending from the novel. In the novel, she wasn't driven out of the Gu family by Gu Xingchen. Instead, she was sent abroad for university and, upon returning, entered the international school funded by the Gu family, becoming the youngest associate professor. Lai Xiang also studied hard to be worthy of her. After graduation, he started his own business and achieved some success in his career. He thought this time he could finally hold his head high and marry Bai Han, but his meager achievements were truly insignificant in the eyes of Ms. Chening. Later, in order to marry Bai Han, Lai Xiang resorted to scheming and framed Ms. Chen Ying's company. Just like that, Ms. Chening suddenly looked at Lai Xiang in a new light and stopped opposing them. Bai Han knew about this matter from start to finish, however. She hypocritically told the male lead, although Mom was wrong, you can punish her a little, but you mustn't really hurt her. And because Bai Han got married, Gu Xingchen left the country heartbroken. All of the Gu family's companies were taken over and managed by Lai Xiang. So, Bai Han lived the rest of her life in smooth sailing, with everything going her way. But now, it turns out that a sweet ending was only possible under the condition that Bai Han was the daughter of the Gu family. Love without material foundation is like a handful of loose sand. My sister truly didn't deceive me, sis. Back then I was blind. I misjudged Lai Xiang. I sharply interrupted her with a piercing gaze. If it wasn't Lai Xiang, it would have been Li Xiang or Zhang Xiang. Because deep down, you're the type who craves excitement and wants to live like a delinquent. You felt the Gu family restrained your freedom, simply because the Gu family was too well-mannered. I sneered coldly. Your compromise now isn't because you genuinely realize your mistake. It's because you've discovered that the privileged life of a wealthy heiress, which you once scorned, is what countless people dream of. Without Mom, you're nothing. You used to complain every day about how suffocating the Gu family was, how your mother controlled you, but I actually think you're the one who emotionally manipulated them. Clearly, many things they did were for your own good. Yet you had to make a fuss over nothing, shouting to the whole world about how miserable your life was. For the sake of love, you betrayed your family. Well, isn't everything going your way now? You've broken free from the Gu family's control and got the person you love most. Isn't that a happy ending for everyone? Now you want to come back to the Gu family. Our home doesn't welcome you. Bai Han probably thought that shedding a few tears would make me sympathize with her. Little did she expect that I wouldn't spare her any mercy. She wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes, her face turning livid, with a challenging glint flashing in her eyes. You're just an adopted daughter of the Gu family. What right do you have to stop me from returning to the Gu family? Gu Xingchen treated me like that before only because he was angry that I chose Lai Xiang over him. Guess what his reaction would be if I said I want to be with him now? Just as I was full of question marks, wondering how she could be so shameless, Gu Xingchen and my mom pushed the door open and came in. Gu Xingchen placed the lunchbox he was carrying on my desk. Mom was worried you might not be used to your first day at work, so she specially brought you lunch and came to see you. This wasn't just about bringing me lunch, it was about backing me up. Woo-woo, Mom is the best in the world. No arguments allowed. I looked at Mom and Gu Xingchen. Mom, have you two eaten yet? Mom shook her head. We were planning to come eat with you. Baihan, who had been completely ignored on the side, couldn't take it anymore. She bit her lip and looked at Gu Xingchen, tears slowly welling up in her eyes, her voice filled with infinite grievance. Mom, brother, I know I was wrong. Mom stood to the side, neither looking at her nor speaking. Instead, it was Gu Xingchen beside her who spoke with a frosty expression. Mom and I have been standing outside for a while, and we heard everything you said. You just asked, if you wanted to choose me now, how would I react? Bai Han's face paled, but she still looked at Gu Xingchen with hope. Gu Xingchen sneered with a mocking expression. Do you really think that after all these years of coming to the Gu family mansion, I wouldn't know about your news? Wrong. I've known exactly how you've lived these 5 years, but I don't care, and it doesn't matter to me. Do I need to continue? In just an instant, Bai Han felt as if she had fallen into hell. She covered her ears, afraid to hear even more heartless words. Why are you treating me like this? Didn't you say before that you would treat me as family? How can a single mistake make me unforgivable? Hypocrites, just you wait. I'll make you pay for this. With those words, Bai Han stormed out of the office. Within days, an explosive piece of news went viral online. Capital's richest Gu family abandons adopted daughter, leading to her being raped and giving birth as a minor. The news quickly went viral across the internet. The stock price of the Gu family's company plummeted, but the very next day, the situation took an unexpected turn. Some media outlets released details online about her upbringing, from the expenses of her daily necessities after being adopted by the Gu family as a child to the costs of hiring various renowned tutors for her education as she grew older. A bored netizen did the math and figured out that raising Bai Han would cost over 10 million. Shortly after, that media outlet exposed chat logs from years ago between Lai Xiang and Bai Han. The messages clearly detailed how they schemed to start dating early and became intimate, as well as how Bai Han resented Ms. Chen Ying's control over her, leading to her complete break with the family. My name was conspicuously absent from the news coverage, likely due to intervention by Gu Xingchen and my mother. Netizens' spicy comments. Raising her is worse than raising a piece of char siu. Please, any adoptive mom, let me use Hermes since childhood. I promise I won't have puppy love. I heard she's divorced now, and the Gu family won't take her back either. Seeing her karma come so quickly gives me immense satisfaction. Soon, Bai Han was taken to the police station for spreading rumors. Bai Han's desperate call for help reached her mother's phone. Mom, please save me. I know I was wrong. I'll listen to you from now on. I'll never dare to do it again. My mother looked at me and said, the biggest mistake I, Chen Ying, have made in my life was adopting you sisters. Because of you, I've learned what it means to raise an ungrateful wolf, and the best decision I ever made was adopting you two sisters. Because of Cece, I've experienced the feeling of being deeply loved by a daughter as a mother. With that, Mom hung up the phone. A few months later, we saw news about Bai Han online again. She was sentenced to 6 months for spreading rumors. This is because the Gu family hired the best lawyer for her, which was also the last bit of softness her mother showed her. Years later, I continued being my mother's little girl. One day, my mother suddenly said to me, Cece, I can't bear to see you married off. Have you considered Gu Xingchen? Me, no way. That's not how it's written in the novel. Gu Xingchen, sitting beside us, watched the TV with a calm expression, as if everything had nothing to do with him. Gu Xingchen's perspective side story, opening my eyes. I knew I had been reborn again. This was already the 3rd time. The first time I was reborn was in middle school. I tried every means to have Bai Han transfer to a school in the neighboring city. I thought that way, she wouldn't fall in love with Lai Xiang, and Mom wouldn't send her abroad. But I was wrong. Lai Xiang actually transferred to that school too. They still met and fell in love. The second rebirth happened after she married Lai Xiang. By then, I didn't like her as much anymore, so I took over the Gu family's business, but Lai Xiang kept insisting that I support his career, and I refused. Bai Han pestered me every day, urging me to help Lai Xiang. I still refused. Not long after, a lot of negative news about the Gu Group exploded online. The stock price of Gu Group plummeted. After repeated investigations, I discovered it was Lai Xiang's doing, and Bai Han knew all about it. Lai Xiang effortlessly acquired Gu Group, and once again, I ended up leaving the country. Suddenly, I found everything to be utterly meaningless. The world seems to revolve around Bai Han and Lai Xiang forever, until the 3rd rebirth. Mom came to pick me up at the airport. Let's go, we'll pick up your sisters from school together. At first, I thought I misheard, until I saw Baishi in the car for the first time. I thought, this life should be the same, after hearing the two stories of